Hey y'all, welcome back to Ascending with Ashley. I'm Ashley. This is a collective coffee. Today we're gonna just talk about spiritual hygiene. I think one of the important things to recognize is that the war that we're currently experiencing is as much spiritual as it is physical. And I'm not talking about religious war, I'm talking about spiritual warfare. I've talked about spiritual warfare in the past, but today I specifically want to talk about spiritual hygiene and ways to keep yourself cleansed, protected from the energies, the evil entities and energies. Entities are able to move from being to being. It's an energetic thing. Sometimes people can see them. They look like dementors a little bit, but like cloudy. There's a lot of footage that has come out in the past few years, especially at Travis Scott's Astro World, and since then, of like what entities look like. They're just like these like black entities, clouds. Not all entities look like that. I probably lost everybody trying to watch this because they're like, oh my god, this girl's crazy. I'm not. I'm telling you, it's up. You just exist. That's the shit that's gonna get you fucked up. So entities can enter into vessels, or human vessels, or spaces if we are low vibrating, if we are utilizing certain substances that equals a low vibration. And if we don't have any context or spiritual protection, if we don't use the tools, then we allow ourselves to be open to entities. The people around us are also probably open to them, and they can transfer. They're like hermit crabs. They can move into new vessels and hold like that shape, okay? Some of the ways that you can recognize if you are the first thing, I'm typing in spiritual hygiene, but I typed in spiritual and then I got gangster warfare gifts. Oh, psychosis is down here. Right. Spiritual gangster. That's what I am. I'm a demon slayer. Kind of like Buffy. I never watched that show. Spiritual hygiene. Okay. Let's see what Google has to say. Let me see if I agree. Spiritual hygiene refers to practices and habits that promote and maintain a healthy spiritual life. Yes, green check mark. Similar to how physical hygiene maintains physical health, it involves cultivating positive spiritual habits and cleansing negative influences. Cultivating positive habits can include prayer or meditation. Regular prayer and meditation can help connect with one's spiritual self and promote inner peace. I'm skipping the next one because it says scripture study. Okay, I'm not going to skip it. Engaging with religious texts can deepen understanding and strengthen faith. I'm going to put asterisk here, caution. I know I've gone into spiritual psychosis, using the Bible as like a choose your own adventure. Looking into the numerology and stuff, like within scripture. So be careful, because that's also put together with an intention that is man-made. That's why I'm cautioning you. In spiritual hygiene, if you are really in your consciousness journey, if you're in consciousness, if you're on your way or path of consciousness, I would recommend, how do I say this? I would recommend being aware of what man-made materials you are consuming. And the reason I wanted to be cautious is because I am a man-made person giving advice. So I don't want, but again, you need to take everything with a grain of salt. And you'll know if I resonate with your internal navigation system, if you're watching my content and I'm causing your body to like have visceral reactions of like anxiety and shit, that's not my intention. So I'm probably, what's that word? Irritating some sort of entity or energy within you that is darker or low vibrating. Another reason I caution away from religion when we talk about spirituality is because those are not the same thing. Religion is a man-made construct for control. Every human has their own spiritual connection. Religion harnesses your individual spiritual connection for control, for a greater good. It disconnects you from spirituality, and it gives you a list of covenants that their God, the powers that be that put that together, men, patriarch, slave owners, religion, if you've studied religion, especially monolithic religion, that means there's only one God, and that God is male, when our human bodies, women, are the ones who bring life to the planet. It's a little ass backwards, so I'm just cautioning you. I know what I'm saying is probably making some people feel fight or flight. I left the church at 16. I think I was raised Presbyterian. I was like a youth deacon. I was balls deep in the church, so I get it. There's a lot of other creators on TikTok I'm thinking about right now that have done a lot more work around deconstructing of Christianity in particular, as a means for control and stuff. I mean, it's pretty obvious. I think when we see the information that's readily available about churches harming children, abusing children sexually, physically, I'm thinking about residential schools. The area that I am in the world has been impacted by residential schools, and continues to be. There's still religious homes and school like models here. So I caution you about scripture. What I will recommend is like affirmations as a replacement. Like, and you don't have to like get yourself cards, but here are some really good things. Raise your vibration oracle, spirit junkie. These are high vibrational. Affirmations are the way that I rewired my being through my depths of darkness. Affirmation is what got me out of that. So I think that's a positive, and that's going to also call your power back to you and your agency. So I am beautiful just the way I am. That's what affirmations are, right? We can't see the rainbow without experiencing the storm. Understanding that there is light and dark, but like affirmations is what I would recommend instead of scripture. Don't go backwards. Fellowship and community. I just did a reading in community gather and what was the other one? I don't know, but it was essentially about community, and I think that one of the things that our spirits have been disconnected with, and I talked about this in the reading, so go watch that. It was Stepping into Leadership is the title. But where was I? This is my favorite Angels and Airwaves song. It's called Surrender. Oh man, I don't know. What I talked about in this reading. One of the things that has been so dominant about this society in which we live right now has been the disconnection from each other with the introduction of the internet. So they've really succeeded in taking away our physical ability. Remember, we are electromagnetic beings. Like, we have like energy fields. What the fuck? Are you okay? Did I scare you? This boo. Boo! No, don't come over here. I'm not calling you. Hey, Boo. Boo is one of Lucy's kids, right? She has a twin named Jemmy. Jemmy is out and about. Jemmy thinks she's a street cat now. Yeah, but this is Boo. Boo has kids. Okay. Anyway, Boo. Yeah, thank you. What was I talking? Oh, the physical. We have been disconnected at a physical level, and forced to communicate with each other via phones, and it's been very normalized, especially since the pandemic. Acts of service, helping others, and engaging in acts of kindness can foster compassion and spiritual growth. I want to caution you on this too, because if you are around lower vibrational people or entities, they're going to see this as a way to manipulate you. And we did talk about manipulation yesterday in a collective convo, in different tactics used, but takers often see givers as weak, kindness as weakness, which obviously isn't true. So just caution you on that. Don't let yourself get played because you are trying to maintain your own spiritual hygiene. I would say whatever acts of kindness, if you are in a space of healing, or whatever acts of kindness you would do for others, do for yourself while you're healing. Not saying to be a complete fucking dick, but just part of spiritual hygiene is, I'm thinking of the scene at the end of Breaking Dawn in Twilight. If you haven't seen it, Bella's gift when she becomes a vampire is to create like energetic shields of protection. And I think that's one of the things, when I think about spiritual hygiene, that's what I think about. I think about a dome of protection in particular, so that people can't even get into my energy. I barely go out in public. And again, I want community. I want physical connection, but I'm not going to do that at the odds of having takers take. And last year was my year of setting firm boundaries around that, and I really got into a healthy place with my own spiritual hygiene because of my ability to set boundaries, to place boundaries, and to follow through with them. So I would say boundaries more than giving to others. Give that to yourself while you're still healing. Gratitude and appreciation. This stuff is very much from a religious lens, what I'm reading. Google, I mean, I'm not surprised the powers that be are really pushing religion, Christianity in particular, in this country. I mean, all over, but gratitude and appreciation. Yesterday in one of our readings, gratitude and joy came out as a really great place to stay. I agree with that. I think affirmations can really help that as well. If you don't want to buy any cards, you can go, you can just Google, positive affirmations, right? I would say when I was really rewiring my brain, hello Nova. When I was rewiring my brain, I did a fuck ton of affirmations, and I've mentioned this in a few places before, but I got them from Pinterest. I think Pinterest is pretty much played out unless you're still Jesus Christ, unless you're a millennial. Cats are spiritual protectors. Obviously, we've had 2 special guests today. I'm surrounded by cats. I know that's because I need the protection in the spirit realm. My neighbors aren't too thrilled about it, but it is what it is. I've become a cat lady. I'm not telling you to adopt cats, but if you have a cat that comes across your FYP or in real life, it could be the spirit realm reminding you to up your protection at that time. If you work in a venue, a closed venue, I remember when I worked at Macy's. Ugh. When I worked at Macy, I couldn't do it. It was too enclosed. The airflow was like stagnant. I can't have stagnant air. I can't be in a space of stagnant air. My coworkers were all like so stuck up. Macy's, the customers, oh god, they were so bougie and awful. I only did that job for a couple months because I worked at JCPenney before. JCPenney was great. They're a great company. Macy's is not. Macy's is an awful company. I'm sure that doesn't surprise anyone. But either way, if you are in an enclosed space with lots of other energies for your job, I mean, I worked at a call center, that was the same vibe. Oh my god. Waitressing too, you know, wherever you have to like really heavily interact with others, and like, especially if you have to wear a mask of like customer service. Oh god, my professional voice. Hi, thank you for calling Blue Cross Blue Shield of New Jersey. How may I help you? Oh my god. It's been a really long time. What was that? Like what? It's like 13 years ago. I worked at a call center. Anyway, I used to have nightmares about adjusting fucking claims. Because that's what I did. I adjusted medical claims for doctors. Oh my god, it was awful. Anyway, if you are in that space where you're around a lot of other people and you're all acting fake, that's a really dope ass time for entities to switch between vessels, just so you know. Again, crystals can really help you. The lower chakra crystals, the darker colored crystals will support you in maintaining your grounding on the planet. If you're grounded on the planet and grounded in who you are, you're less likely to be fucked with spiritually. I've been possessed. I've been possessed. I've been through a lot of shit. One of the tellers that you can tell when you're super low vibrational, or when someone else is manipulating your energy, or if you even have an entity attached to you, is if you are constantly in a negative space, like constantly hitting like walls or roadblocks in your plans, constantly in a space of negativity or victimhood or consumption. Like nothing is ever enough, whether that's drugs, alcohol, consumerism. I think we all have, because of the society, we all consume, right? I made a video years ago on this channel about sustainable consumerism, and I think I've revisited that with some of this stuff. I don't know, but that's something, because we all have to consume in order to survive. There needs to be a balance of consumption and creating, or like creativity. So just make sure that you're maintaining that balance. If you are feeling yourself needing to consume, I would say pull back and take inventory of your energy. If that sounds like something that is, this is a hard conversation because everything in this realm is very much tangible. So when we talk about spiritual hygiene, because it's intangible, because we can't touch it or see it, we can only feel it, and we've been encouraged to be disconnected from our feelings. So there's a distrust of that. It's another way that entities will get to you, is when you don't trust yourself. So be very careful about the people you have around you, if you have the ability to, and if you don't have the ability to give space, right? Like working in any of these jobs we've already mentioned, having shitty coworkers or customers around you. I would say get stones if you can, crystals. Maybe on your breaks, just try to call your energy back. Do a simple incantation. The one I like to do, you can use it. I'm not worried about anyone coming into my energy because I'm sharing this. I like to say when I'm feeling really like I need to call my power back to me, um, I say I call my power back to me, so they can see that I am not the one, to fuck with. So mo to be, because a lot of people will feed off of energy, and it's a very subconscious thing. It's more like how people make you feel, but like if people make you feel bad, it's going to trigger, if you're unhealed, it's going to trigger those responses of needing more consumption, being a victim, lashing out at people with like no rhyme or reason, kind of just being a fucking dick. Again, all of that is more than likely a projection of the way they feel about themselves, but that doesn't mean it's not going to affect your energy, okay? I think there's a lot more here, but I just want to start the conversation for how you can start doing this for yourself, ways it shows up. Remember that we are in spiritual war. I think, and we'll talk about this. The things that you digest. We've talked about music in the hidden messages in media course. We've talked about consumption, but I think when we are constantly bombarded with social media doom scrolling, there can become a time where we've had too much, where we start to feel our energy being like extracted. Those are the times to like call your energy back, recognize, take a moment. You know, this is a mindfulness practice. You do have to have a certain level of self-awareness to be able to navigate these things, but that's really important for spiritual hygiene. So like as I've been reporting on what's happening in Gaza, because I'm such a sensitive person, sometimes I do it without the sound on, but I still share the content, you know, things like that. It's a mindful practice of balance, because it's not going to do anyone any good to let ourselves be swept up in the terror of anything going on, right? And I'm using Gaza as an example because of how blatantly fucking ridiculous. I mean, the amount of babies I've seen with heads blown off is unreal. The amount of children's limbs I've seen. I never thought I would witness something like that and be okay. But a lot of the reason I am okay is because the Palestinians have such firm faith in their God that I know that my spiritual practices are also strengthening as I witness what's happening to them done by pure evil, with the world just sitting by. And I'm using that as an example. I mean, the ICE raids, what's happening to folks here in the United States, the way that they're being disappeared. For me, having it be in the United States is harder to report on because it is closer to home. There's a different level of reality there, and I know that probably sounds fucked up, but that's real. I am not in Gaza, and I know that I need to share that information, and I know that that's not happening to me. But when I look at the things happening in the United States, I get more into a space of this could happen, and that can unground me. So I don't really stay in that space. And that also speaks to when we do step into leadership, which was that other reading this morning, having our spiritual hygiene is so important. And I want to caution you about sex again, because what are they called? Incubuses and succubuses are people who use sex as a way to drain energy from people. Succubus is the feminine and incubus is the masculine. And those are entities. So you may have entities attached to you if you are addicted to sex or porn, or if your mistreatment of women is like, who's that dude with the podcast? The one that got arrested in Europe? Andrew something? You know, if you're a misogynist or things like that, if you really don't respect women and you just see them as sex objects, you probably have an incubus attached to you, or you've come across they're called Jezebel spirits, which are succubuses, which are women who do feed off of men with sex as well. There's a lot of stuff that's not tangible that we willingly participate in because we just don't know. So I hope this gave you enough to go off of. One of my favorite things to do is to throw light protection with a favorite shape or particular shape. I never share my shape. I don't recommend that you share your shape with anyone either. But what that looks like is we're going to use a circle as an example. So you're going to visualize a circle, and then you're going to blow it up to like the size of a hula hoop so that it can go over you. This is a practice in visualization. And then you're going to put it above you and slinky it over you. Okay, so just imagine that my whole body is encapsulated in this. That is light energy. So you don't have to use a circle. I would actually recommend getting a pretty obtuse shape so that you can't be penetrated by energies. And then when you get to a certain point of visualization, because darkness is attracted to light, you may want to cloak your shape of protection. Also, when you start to practice visualization, you will be able to make your shape larger to cover larger areas, and you'll also be able to project them above locations. I often project mine over Gaza. Not often enough. I should do more of that. I project it on my land where we're not at, and I project it on where we are. And if I have people I like enough, I will project my protection over them as well. If we all were doing that, so the way you can veil that, because darkness is attracted to light, so it will attract darkness. I like to think of tulle, you know, like that prom dress fluffy, or like ballerina, what are those called? Tutus. That stuff is called tulle. And so one of the ways that I like to cloak my shape after I've projected it is I will then envision tulle kind of cloaking it. So it's still there, but it's not as bright, because I am a very bright person. But okay, I hope that helps. Spiritual hygiene is very important. Working with the elements, staying grounded on this planet are also just really important. But yeah, I have stones everywhere. I can give you a little tour of some that can help you. This is a crystal quartz, pretty standard. It is like the universal stone for healing. Some of the ones that I've started working with recently, this is bloodstone, or dragon's blood, I think is what this one is. I have another one, and I gave it to Niall, and he fucking disappeared it in this house, in this room somewhere. It's around, like, right here somewhere. I don't know where it is. It's very much giving Benoit balls. If you don't know what a Benoit ball, a Benoit ball is a ball that women put inside them to do, like, Kegels. Anyway, strengthening vagina muscles. Anyway, why I'm being called to share that is because that's also a spiritual practice. Your throat is, like, your throat chakra and your other orifices in the south, like, so above, so below, is like something that's often said in magic. If you're struggling with your throat chakra, you may have like an energy block with your root chakra or your sacral chakra, which again could speak to the incubuses or succubuses who are sucking the life force energy out of you using sex. Be careful. And the reason I'm sharing all that is because this stone in particular is for your root chakra. And that's the chakra that makes you feel safe or not. So if it's imbalanced, this is a fluorite, and this one's good for the opposite. This is for your crown chakra, but it is darker colors, which I really love. I'm glad I got this one. Because sometimes, this is like green, which is for your heart chakra. I I don't know how I can show you the color. It's like very emerald. Can you see it behind maybe? No? Oh, there it is. So green is the color of your heart chakra, but this is for your crown. This is a stone. Fluorite will protect your spiritual or psychic gifts, or it can open up your psychic powers. But regardless, whatever rocks you choose to work with, moonstone, whatever stones you do, this is a petrified wood I found in the alley, and it's so fucking dope. Oh, here's shungite. Shungite is also for like our lower stuff. Shungite can actually filter water, which I didn't know. Anyway, whatever stones you decide to work with. Judy Hall is a woman that has written a book called The Crystal Bible, and she also made an oracle. I think stones are a really great place to start though, because they are so ancient. The energy that crystals have in them is very powerful. Rocks are old. Like petrified wood, this is millions of years old, and it was just chilling in my fucking alley. This is a piece of a tree that was alive and now it's a fucking rock. Like, that's wild. That's the part of the world I live in though. I live right by the petrified forest. Well, under Trump, it probably won't be there anymore. Anyway, Judy Hall. No, we are not related. I would recommend either getting the Crystal Bible. I have the Crystal Bible, but it's on the homestead. I should probably buy a new one because it's a really great book. She breaks down crystals really, really well. I like the cards. The cards are cool. I never use these in readings because I know a lot of people just don't have access to this stuff. Oh, here's Bloodstone. I just opened to it. Bloodstone has always had a powerful connection to maintaining vitality, regulating menstruation. That's why all that shit came out about the Benmal balls and stuff. And staunching blood loss as well as purifying kidneys. So, yeah. I mean, recommend getting this stuff because then you can explore it, see what calls to you. But crystals are like really good friends to have in regards to spiritual realms. I don't know what this one is. I don't remember. But it's really fucking pretty. Here's an amethyst. Amethyst is good for your third eye. Also will support dreams if you want to do astral traveling. That's another thing we didn't cover. If you are astral traveling or having out-of-body experiences or lucid dreaming while you're asleep, you need to put protection over you before you're doing that. Entities will... I think of this, I've talked about this before, I think that must have been with the spiritual warfare. That Billie Eilish song, The Bad Guy, where she has that one line, when we all fall asleep, where do we go? And then she continues on, I'm the bad guy. So I think a lot of people know this already, but like nightmares, night terrors, a lot of that can be induced by outside entities. A lot of it can also be just you working through your trauma and stuff. But throw protection, sleep with crystals, do other things to keep yourself safe in other realms, especially while you're asleep. Your consciousness is resting, so it's an easy target. All right. You can work with fire or light as well. Be careful, obviously. I've been working a little bit more with candles, not much. But I've just been working on like visualizing what I want and then kind of making like birthday wishes with candles, which I don't think is a very standard practice, but I'm just sharing because nothing in spirituality is concrete. You're allowed to do what feels right. You're allowed to move how you're being called, and that's why I'm cautioning you away from the scripture, because that is telling you what to do, whereas spirituality is allowing yourself to flow. But flowing protected is important. All right, make sure you have your life vest on while you're exploring realms. Have a good one.